welcome to my first ever build in Paralives. I'm very excited to bring this game to the channel. Been waiting very patiently for this game, and I'm actually a little bit delayed with bringing out some videos for Paralives. Everyone and their dog seems to have already built on this lot in particular, but I thought I'd give a crack myself and see if I can figure out the tricky terrain of this tiny little plot of land. I chose to do a 3-story townhouse for a couple of paras. I nearly said Sims then. And I've done it in the style of a kind of Japandi, very modern looking townhouse. I've also reconfigured the living situation, so the bedrooms will be on the ground floor, given that we've got kind of a constrained view. Not really much going on at the back, really, due to the terrain. And then the next 2 floors will be living space. So we've got like a kitchen, dining area in the first floor, and then the top floor has a living room with a balcony, just to make use of the views overlooking the world. But I really do enjoy the build mode. The developers have done such an incredible job with the amount of customization you can do. And I can already see myself spending countless hours picking swatches. It's not quite as crazy as The Sims 3, since there's not really that many textures just now, since it is in early access mode. But I've very much enjoyed all the detailing that we can do. I also completely forgot that we have a gizmo tool in the game, so forgive me, I could have done some custom detailing to this build, but I completely forgot. There's just so much newness to the game. I always find that when I start playing a new game, it takes me a little while to get used to things. And I also struggled with the roofing as well. There is actually a little note in the roof section to say that sometimes it might be a bit difficult to place roofs. I didn't really find that. It was more so the fact that this flat roof kind of got stuck in the left side of the exterior building. So I had to come out of the game and reload back in, but worked out in the end. So we've gone for a very minimal roof, just, test the boundaries. I didn't want to do anything too crazy. Also, it kind of suited the vibe of it being a modern townhouse. And just placed a single chimney on the top, this kind of nice modern looking one. But I've gone for a very clean looking palette, and I think here I'm just even cycling through all the newness. I wasn't really used to the menu, and that's something that will take time to get used to. But I really love that you can actually customize the rakes and the roofs as well. There's so many different customization options that are really going to be game changing for so many different styles of builds. But yeah, to the exterior paint, I've chosen this very light wood, slap wood. Found a nice reference image actually that was from a townhouse in Japan. And as we know, there's some really gorgeous modern architecture there. So drew inspiration from that palette and then opt for this kind of cement looking wall in this nice soft white shade. I really actually love the textures of this game. It looks very realistic, but also in keeping with the art style. And I'm very excited to see what they'll bring in the update, because as we know, once you buy the game, there's no expansion packs that we need to buy. Sims 4 could literally never. And yeah, it's just super excited for the future updates. I know that a few people have struggled running their game, particularly on laptops, but my PC at the moment is fine. It's not had any crashes so far, but I have been quite diligent in saving builds just in case. But there is a little report button right at the top part of the menu in case anything goes wrong. So I like that the devs are open for feedback, and I guess this is what we're all here for. I also noticed that when you click on every wall, you can change the thickness of it, which is really cool actually. And I can imagine that'd be really useful when it comes to some architectural details, or even just adding kind of minor half walls within walls to create maybe a bathroom or something like that. So here I'm just pulling out my first door of the build. Decided to go for a very minimal glass look, and I've matched the wood tones to the paneling. So really like that we have a customizable color wheel. It seems to work very seamlessly. I got no lagging or anything. And just try to seamlessly match the windows with the doors. I absolutely love that you can drag the windows and create any customizable size. I mean, look at that. It's so great. And it means that also if you wanted to match a different style window, you can just easily tie it in with a similar swatch. So very much enjoy what the devs have implemented in the game there. I like as well that you can also just have a slightly larger window. It doesn't have to be a stock size based on the catalog. So I did do this little corner window moment. I mean, there's not much of a view on the left side of the build, considering it's adjacent to a rundown pharmacy. But I kind of like the curb appeal of having that really angular side with glass on it. Here I'm choosing the front door. Again, decided to opt for a very clean and minimal wooden door with some glass on it. And of course, just match the color swatch to the wood siding in that CDA A8C code. And I was thinking as well, I was kind of playing around with extending the build out a little bit further. I like that you can kind of just place walls off the grid. And in doing so, I decided to just pull the build a little bit further out to create some dimension to the build, create some cool angles. Here I am kind of jostling around with the corner window. It was kind of glitching out a little bit in the corner, so I had to completely delete it and start afresh. I did get there in the end, and bobbing up and down. I think that's the one thing that I really didn't like about build mode. It's the camera. I think it's very much known by the developers how much of an issue it is. And yeah, it was bopping up and down. It's really frustrating. I do know they're probably going to work on that, so I did try my best with keeping my composure in this game. And I noticed as well, since the house was on a slight angle, when I did extend some of the rooms out, it wasn't actually as seamless as The Sims 4, so I had to rebuild the wall, half wall, on the upper floor, just so it would match him perfectly. I can imagine when I'm actually just building in free time, I will be a lot more detail orientated, but I definitely wanted to get a build out of my channel and get in on the Paralives hype, since everyone's been enjoying this game, and rightly so, because people have been waiting a long time for this game to come out. And I'm just super impressed with what the devs have done so far. I think the world is really beautiful. I love that it kind of zooms out like Sims 3 style. I've already implemented a few mods as well into my game, which is really easy via the Steam catalog. And yeah, I mean, just super excited for what's to come, I guess, in the near future. So here I'm just adding a window to the ground floor. It definitely needed a little bit of light just to, bring in some nice light to the area, since it was quite a dark space downstairs. And I found this decal menu, so decided to add some realistic looking kind of cracks and a little bit of dirt here and there. Be cool to see even more added into this category. Although I thought it was a little bit strange that it did cost Paralives, but I wasn't really working to a budget here. Also came across this really cool coving situation, so decided to add a bit of an accent to the top floor balcony. Kind of adds a little bit of sheen when you swivel your camera around. I definitely wanted to try and fit a tree on this lot. Also, not only just to hide that weird bit of grass that would not be covered by the terrain paint, but also just add kind of a Japandi style aesthetic. And I thought this tree really fit in with the kind of theme. I was struggling quite a lot though with the leaves poking through the wall. So you'll probably see me here taking quite a lot of time actually, just rotating, maneuvering. Absolutely love though how easy it is to size things up and down. I remember the countless hours that I would spend using the tool mod in The Sims 4 to perfectly size objects. So it's really nice that this is just implemented in the game from the get-go. And we just start kind of adding more to the front of the house with some landscaping. Chose a bush. Really like the graphics actually on the landscaping. And I know that usually with manual placements of like grass and flowers be quite time consuming, but they actually have a terrain brush now. So I'd not done it for this build, but it's really useful when you've got quite a big plot of land just to be able to draw some flowers or some weeds or grass anywhere and not take too much time up. I'm playing around with a few flower beds. It's really torn between which kind of style I wanted to go for. This one, the first one that I pulled out, was okay, but I didn't know if I liked the scalloped edge at the bottom. And then this one kind of fit the aesthetic, but it looked very bulky. So I was thinking maybe I should stack these two together, but then with the way that the train sits on this plot of land, it was a little bit higgledy-piggledy. So I ended up going for this very simple flower box. I actually do end up extending this a little later on. But I also found a little hotkey trick. You're holding down Alt when you do the, well, I guess you do the eyedropper against the color of the wall, and then you hold Alt and you can color any object in. So that's a little trick from me to you. And playing around with a few flowers. Initially, I was going to choose some quite small, delicate flowers, but then I came across these roses and I like the little pop of crimson color. So decided to stack them in a few different variations. You'll see a little later on that they end up poking through the wall, so I did have to go back in and adjust them. But I'll definitely get to grips with landscaping a little bit further down the line. This was my first build after all, so just trying to add as much detail as I can without overwhelming myself. And it was definitely difficult to get back into the swing of just building since I've not built in The Sims 4 for quite a few months now. I'd been focusing on Town to City, which is a completely different kind of building since it's a city builder. So it was quite nice to go in finally and create a nice home with really intricate details. Just really gave me all the feels that I needed from The Sims 4. Deciding to choose a exterior plant here. I also just love the fact that you can just change the pot color very easily, and really enjoyed the selection they have so far. Some of the categories do look a little bit dated, you know, like the clutter isn't really all that great, but oh, just before I mention, I'll go off my trailer thought, I like that you can just switch the way the door falls just from the menu instead of having to use your keypad, so that's quite a nice little touch. But yeah, back to my little talk about decorations. I definitely think we need more clutter objects, but I'm not really surprised that we've got what we've got. I also love, oh my god, I'm just going to say, turning the light within the menu from morning to night is so useful. I remember having to use cheats for that in The Sims 4 and it was such a nightmare. Never would work. And this is just integrated in the game. And I love that you can just check whether a light is the right brightness by just scrolling from left to right on the light menu, which I've casually left open probably for the entirety of this video without realizing. So yeah, just extended that flower bed, created more of a moment with the ivy and the roses. Quite like how it came out actually. I think if we probably had a bit more selection of flowers, I probably would have chosen something a bit different, but I used what we had and I think it came out okay. And I think that is the front pretty much complete, at least from that level. We add a matching sliding door to this tiny little back balcony and a custom glass pane window. And what am I doing now? Oh, here I am. I was going to start work on the furnishings and then realized that all these lovely flowers were within the walls. Making a start on the floor plan. Some of the walls are actually at a weird angle, but what I do quite like is that it is off the grid, so it does feel a little bit more realistic, because especially in older builds, not this one including, but in older builds, not every wall is perfectly straight, so it'd be cool to try and create a older build, maybe a Victorian house with some really cool looking angled walls. Also placed in the staircases. I found placing the staircases a little bit tricky. I don't know whether it's just maybe because I didn't have it on the grid or I just forgot to switch the grid toggle on, but because they were free placed, some of them kind of went into wall. I wasn't really doing that well with the tool, and even here with the railings, it didn't really work to my favor. So one thing I would like to see, I don't know if it's just through the nature of the build mode, but I found it really hard to just if you go over one tile too heavy on placing a railing or a wall, you can't just delete one little tile of wall or railing. You have to delete the entire thing, which I thought was kind of cumbersome. So hopefully the devs will listen to my feedback. Maybe it's feedback for other people as well, and implement that into the game. Unless I'm missing something, please do let me know in the comments. But yeah, I like this. This is going to be a little snug living room at the top, and this section here is going to be where the kitchen is. And this little room I'm creating here will be a bathroom. So only one bathroom in the house, all the way at the ground floor, but it's just how the floor plan worked, unfortunately. Finally into the interiors, choosing some interior doors. Really wanted to match the wood tones in here, so decided to opt for same color tone. I ended up going for a simpler door instead without the detail work, just so we could get that wood tone in looking quite clean. And also it kind of just suited the fact that it was more of a modern build. Here I am struggling to eye drop the colors. Again, I'm not really that skilled at the moment with build mode. I love the fact as well that you can choose the colors for the door, the frame, the handles. So customizable. And also you don't even have to choose wall textures. You could do metal or textures or, fake fur if you wanted to. Here I'm just dividing up the space where the kitchen will sit. I wanted a kind of open living space, so decided to just do a partition wall. Picking the flooring, chose a nice pale wood floorboards, and then opted for this kind of stucco cement. It's very trendy, I guess, at the moment, but I love the neutral tones of this. I actually was kind of struggling with how to not paint every room, but then I realized that if you place a dividing wall or a separating wall, I think it's the third one on the wall menu, you can actually split up the wall paints, but that's in hindsight because when I was actually building this house, I had no idea that you could split up the rooms with different color swatches and different floor tiling. So I'll definitely keep that in mind for next time. I also completely made a bit of a fluff by just placing down a single bed. In my head, I thought this was a double bed, but it clearly wasn't. Should have extended it out and noticed there was only one pillow, not two. But when I go to the final tour, I will definitely make sure to extend this bed so it's a double. I did initially want to do some teardrop pendants, but for some reason it didn't want to sit flush over the side tables, so I gave up on that idea and instead opted for some lamps. And of course, the catalogue isn't that big, so I did find it a little bit of a struggle to find lamps that would suit the aesthetic of the builds that I was going for. But I did come to a compromise with, I think it was a mushroom lamp. Yeah, this one here. So it was kind of cool. And then turned the brightness all the way down just to see how intense the light would be. And yeah, the light itself was very intense, so wasn't very happy with that. So decided to go back to this drawing board, going through a million different lamps, and then finally settled on this one. Also in the settings menu, you can build with the ceilings casting shadows, which I actually did, which I regret now because I think it would have been nice and made the interiors pop more if I hadn't had that option on the menu. So for future builds, I'm going to turn that off, and then when I do screenshots or whatever, I can turn the ceiling shadow cast on. I think it looks quite dark now in retrospect, but you learn, I guess, the more you do things. And then color matching the bed. How amazing is it that we can change the frame color, the sheets, even the blanket on the bed. Gone are the days of downloading multiple CC for The Sims 4 so I can get the right shades of bedding, since a lot of them in the catalogue were quite ugly. And I ended up opting for a light beech wood with a sagey green accent, and then these kind of off-white covers. I really enjoyed the palette that we chose for the bedroom. It felt very calming. I actually quite liked that bed as well. It was very modern. I wasn't too pleased with the side tables. Thought maybe they were a little bit too industrial looking and not warm enough for the wood tones that we chose for the room. So I ended up going for this number instead. Some of the names for the products are really funny. It's kind of IKEA-esque. So it's Rakitaki, Midi, Chenti. Maybe there's lore behind the names. Chiniti, sorry. Maybe there's lore behind the objects in the games, for all we know. Just colour matching. The side tables. Copying over the exact colour code. So everything looks like it's been built as a 3-piece set. And much prefer how these look now. And to a little bit of detailing on the side tables, decided to add a lovely plant. Very much enjoy the graphics of the plants. I like how this one trails over the edge. I also love as well that it just snaps to any object, but you can move it in whichever capacity you want. No cheats needed. And just scrolling through the catalogue, really, it's kind of the first time that I properly had looked at objects in the catalogue, so it's very intrigued by all the details he had going on. So maybe we could get some reed diffusers. Didn't go for that, but I did find this lovely vase. Felt very Scandinavian inspired. It's actually quite a nice vase, actually. It's something I would quite like in my office. And something was missing over the bed, so this was the first time I was looking at the posters for the wall. I've seen some great tricks where people had overlaid different artwork, like within the door frames, and even just adding an overlay for the framed pictures, which I should have done really, because this one doesn't have a frame, but maybe it's just a canvas on the wall. But I love that you can just manipulate the size, the width, the height, create some custom pieces of artwork. And also you can upload from your own PC, so maybe that's something I'll do in the future. Now for a dresser, I ended up extending this dresser to create more of a moment on this back wall. We had the space for it. I really love this mid-century modern kind of vibe, mixed with these light wood tones, so it feels a bit fresher, a bit more modern. Ended up going for a metal front to this dresser. Just add a bit of texture to the wood, since I didn't want everything to look the same. I think I initially went for this greeny, dark green tone as an accent, but from memory, I think we switched it to kind of a rusty beige tone instead. That will come a bit later. Dressing up the dresser, added a lovely lamp, not the same one that we had on the side tables. Opted for this nice little simple one. There's so much customization that you can do for every single object. You could even, add a brick texture to your lamp if you want to, which clearly I was interested in doing. And then obviously with the color wheel as well, possibilities are absolutely endless. But I also like that you can customize the bulb color as well and the intensity of the light. I think it was a nice touch from the team to be able to do that in bulb mode. And you can already see how long I'm taking just to customize the lamp, so you can imagine what it was like in real time. But very much enjoy some of the items in this catalogue. Really definitely wanted to create a mirror moment over this dresser. We actually had another mirror in the room a little bit later, but I thought here was the perfect spot to add one. We ended up going for this one. I think technically this is like a medicine cabinet, but I actually quite like that it was slightly dimensional off the wall. So I opted for this one in a slightly asymmetric placement. Just wanted to make it feel a bit more modern and less dressed up. Also have another pica plant on the dresser. And then I think, we choose a framed piece of artwork. I think I opted just something abstract. Would love for that catalogue to grow with even more options, which I'm sure we'll get. I think a little bit later down the line, I found even more decorations which I dress up, but I just left it like that for now. Wanted to add a fancy bench at the end of this single bed. So when I do go in the screenshots, I'm going to have to resize this so it lines up with a double width frame. And of course, made sure to color match everything with the wood of the base of the bed and opted for a kind of sagey green tone for the cushion. But yeah, you can see there's just so much nuance to the textures. I think it really adds realism and depth to build mode, which I very much enjoy. I don't think I've done too bad considering I was going for a kind of a very modern aesthetic for this build, and I was a bit worried that maybe some of the items wouldn't really suit the vibe that I was going for, but I think it worked out in the end. Of course, I would very much enjoy if there was even more in the catalogue, and I know, of course, some amazing content creators are creating some furniture packs on the Steam gallery, so I'll be sure to check those out and maybe add to my game if I should wish. What am I doing here? Oh yeah, just again, trawling through all the categories, familiarizing myself with the catalogue. Found this really lovely looking vinyl player, so decided to maneuver that in place, size it down as well. I'm not sure if this is usable since I didn't actually really play in this house, I just built it. I hope it's usable, but maybe it's just decorative for now and that's okay with me. But yeah, I really like having that little detail on the dresser. You can see there, it was like radiators, so that'd be cool for like British inspired houses since, you know, our houses are built for retaining heat. As we all know, in the summer, it's actually killer. I did a rug at the end of the bed, just shows kind of a very neutral swatch, and then created a custom wardrobe. Again, I love those arrow manipulation. It's so useful just to not have to troll through the catalogue for something that perfectly matches. You can just customize it yourself. And found a lovely accent chair, very design-led accent chair. Would love also to see this category grow. Some of the furniture isn't exactly my style, but you know, it's not going to be to everyone's taste. And a lovely potted plant as well. I think, what am I doing? Yeah, just color matching the wardrobe to the dresser, opting for this really nice sheeny metal front, which I was talking about earlier. Just adds a nice bit of dimension to the room since it's all in kind of very similar color palette. And opt for a sage accent green chair. I think turned out quite nicely. Probably could have done that in a black as a more of a contrast, but I think it looks fine for now. Added in a blind for privacy. Again, absolutely amazing that you can customize the width and the height of these. No more trolling through ugly curtains in The Sims 4. Now we can just have our own perfectly aligned custom blinds and curtains. Thank you very much, Paralives teams. I was toying with the idea of having a side table there and also a desk, but then I was like, what could I do in this wall? And I was thinking, do we even have bookshelves? But I ended up finding the books in the misc detail items, so I knew for sure that we could create bookshelves, just wasn't sure how. And also definitely wanted to add books elsewhere in the room, so hence why I'm going through the menu. Found a little tray, a little wicker tray. Then we add this little, I guess, jewelry box. Just sizing things down so it looks a bit more proportionate to the dresser. And adding some books as well. Just so it looks a bit more lived in. But I think that turned out to be, oh, I got rid of the books, never mind. Ignore me. And here I'm like, I definitely want to create a bookshelf moment. And I came across this number. It was kind of pre-built. I wasn't really up to the task of creating my own custom bookshelf, so I opted for this one instead, and it worked out perfect because it was quite slender, fit in the space really nicely. So matched it to the other woods, so kind of blended into the environment. And then, yeah, I just went to town, adding detail to this bookshelf with lots of different book orientations. Really like the art style in this, actually. It's on that kind of cusp of cartoony Sims 4 style with a little bit of realism, I guess, that you could see from Inzoi. I was kind of struggling though for enough detail, but then I realized since it's my first build, I don't have to go to town with detail. That could definitely come for my real-time builds. But you know me, I love to add detail where I can. Adding another little lovely picture frame, little abstract flower. There's quite a few gaps in this bookshelf. I was really, struggling with what to put there. Or what felt appropriate. Did find a nice little urn. I'm quite sure what else we put on this. Maybe it was a flower, lily? Could be wrong. I'm just, again, trawling through the catalogue, trying to familiarise myself with what's on offer in this game. There's actually, looking at it now, quite a lot of decorative details that you added into the initial launch of the game, so maybe I shouldn't complain too much. Still wasn't really happy with the bookshelf, so I think potentially we might go back to it. I'm not sure. But I am choosing a ceiling light, and it was just opting for a nice simple saucer. I was thinking of maybe doing a drop pendant, but decided against it in the end. I just wanted the lighting in this bedroom to be very calming. See here, I've just gone back to the bookshelf because I was not happy. I don't know if we keep this, but if we do, I have a mushroom lamp now on the bookshelf. But I swear we add. Yeah, we do add a plant. What do we add? Oh, here we are. I knew it wasn't wrong. So I did a lovely floral moment just to, help fill out the gap of that quite tall shelf moment. And I think that was Bob's your uncle for that, because I couldn't think of anything else to put there. And we are moving into the main bathroom. I actually really love the tiles that I pick. I think I even did it in one of the predetermined swatches. It's really cool, really modern. I think they did a good job at the quality of the textures. Would be cool, obviously, to add even more options. But I decided to pretty much color drench this room in the same tile. Since it was such a small space, thought, why not create a statement moment for a bathroom? And statement, it did come out indeed. I think I was trying my best to fit as much into this bathroom as possible, but getting the orientation right was really paramount. So I ended up moving the shower to the other wall, this one here. It doesn't really make sense since, the door would actually hit into the shower screen, which I do add a little bit later on. But I think it looks visually nice. I'll probably do much better with floor planning later down the line. Love that little sink moment. Freestanding sink. Looks very clean and tidy. And what am I doing? Oh yeah, I think I'm trying to match the... Am I trying to match? Oh yeah, I did it in metal. Trying to match the colour. And there's that trick I was talking about. So you eyedrop the wall and you press Alt, I believe, and then you can apply that texture to pretty much any object you want. I probably could have done the toilet in tile if I wanted to. But I really like that. That's an option because it looks really built in. I don't know whether it's a game glitch or not and whether that's actually supposed to happen. But I'm happy it is in the game because it certainly helped picking out swatches and make it look much simpler. And just adding a bit of bathroom clutter, moisturizer, some toothbrushes. For some reason, I thought it was necessary to recolor the toothbrushes. I don't know why. It's probably my OCD self. Blame it on the Type A. Thought maybe of adding some detail to the shelves, but I think I went against it because nothing really worked in that space. I also was like, where are the towels? And then realized there was just flat towels, no hanging towels for the walls. So would also love to see that in the catalogue. Be much more useful when you're kind of in a very small bathroom space such as this. I did a hanging plant in this area. And this is where I was like, right, I do need a shower screen. So I guess you could classify this as a wet room. I don't know if it's usable. I guess what I should do really is play test this. But I got a single glass pane window stretched all the way up so it looked like a shower screen. And yeah, I quite like the detail on the side that's tiled, so it looks really inbuilt. And then opted for a simple saucer light given the space constraints. Kind of chuffed with that bathroom, to be honest. Came out much better than I expected. I think I was just maybe trying to figure out if I could add even more detail, but didn't really fancy anything in the catalogue for this space. Now the hallway, I was looking for a hallway table that would suit. Ended up going for this kind of modern low-rise table instead. Add another lamp, a bit of accent lighting. I'll probably end up repeating so many items throughout this build without knowing, but because I was in such an aesthetic, and of course we're kind of limited with what we've got going on in the game at the moment, I think it was bound to happen. I did quite like that mirror there, but I don't think we leave it there. I think we add one next to the front door. I could be wrong though. It seems to be there for a while. I thought as well we could change the colour of the flowers for this vase, and we can't, which is unfortunate. It's strange because some of the items you can fully customise and then others you can't, which I don't really know why. But it'd be cool to see if all the plants could be customisable. Because, you know, sometimes I don't want a bright red bunch of flowers in my room. I added a front welcome mat. I know in the catalogue you can have that customisable one where you can write your own message, but I didn't opt for that in the end. Just went for this nice, simple and neutral one. And there is the mirror I was talking about, the full-length mirror, so you can check out your outfit. And then I figured, why would you have two mirrors in the same room? So I opted for another bit of artwork on here in this kind of abstract tone. I quite like the black actually, creates quite a nice contrast to the rest of the neutrals in the room. Clearly was not happy with that lamp. So we go for the same mushroom lamp we used in the bedroom. And I think maybe we even add a plant. Yeah, we did. Maybe it was more of a green number. Oh, was it this one? Oh, you can see how indecisive I am in the catalogue. There it is. It's kind of a third moment. Much better in my opinion. And then we opt for well, I was kind of cycling through different variations of light. So I really kind of wanted a statement moment. So I initially picked this very graphic looking pendant light. I thought maybe it was a little bit too much for the space. It was kind of overwhelming the skinniness of the hallway. So I think I ended up going just for a spotlight. Could be wrong there. Yeah, there we are. Nice little simple teardrop light. Oh, never mind. See, this just shows how indecisive I am. Because clearly I was not happy. There we go. We use a saucer light instead. Gosh, Chris. Sometimes I get wrapped up in the smallest details that don't really matter, but I guess to me in the moment it matters. Here I am struggling for some reason of placement. I like that little blue guide as well to tell you where you've placed it on the floor. I just found that quite difficult in Sims 4 to central a light, for instance, over a dining table. So it was a bit of a struggle. And up for the same flooring upstairs, so this wooden slat moment. And really liked that seamless glass window leading across the back wall. So I did kind of brought the outdoors indoors, and choosing the same stucco cement vibes. This is where that divider wall on the menu could have really come in handy because I was struggling so much to place different coloured swatches on the wall. So that is my bad. I ended up going for tiles on this portion of the dividing wall, since it was the only one that seemed to work for me in that moment. I think I maybe even extend it out another, but I could be wrong. Because when I was trying to place down the orientation of the kitchen, it all felt very squashed. Also, I remember a while back when they were showcasing how to build a kitchen. This might have been last year. They had a stove top, which looked a lot more modern and seamless. I find these ovens quite clunky, and they're also a bit too tall for the counters, so nothing really looks that integrated. I also just found in general, the kitchens weren't that seamless, but I do love the fact that you can change the door handles and the orientations of doors and drawers. I think that is a really great thing to have. And also the fact that you can just extend and manipulate the widths just so you don't have to go in and manually place yet another counter. But I did make it work in the end. I was kind of happy with how it turned out. Again, very limited on what objects we have in this game. But I do like that you can customize the cabinets, because as we all know from The Sims 4, shadows, terrible textures, just never really worked with kitchens, did it? I thought as well, oh yeah, I've just changed up the handles for this one, so looks a little bit more minimal, a bit more modern. I tried to make this look as integrated as possible, as if the fridge has been built into the kitchen. I do like those little snap points for certain things, but I found like it difficult to add the oven to the kitchen. I was really struggling here, hence why I probably go and extend the wall since we needed a bit more space. I was wondering, like, can you just sink it into the counter, but then you can see the door handles, so maybe not. So a lot of trial and testing going on. But this is what this channel is for. I'll definitely get to grips with it the more builds I do. Yeah, I see there the lip of the oven is too high. I don't like that it's not sunk seamlessly into the counters. Unless I'm doing something wrong. In which case, please sound off in the comments down below. What else do I do? I think I add some more cabinets across this wall. Was looking a little bit sparse. I initially was trying with having some open shelves, which I really should have done now, because then we could have added some more detail to this kitchen, with the glassware they've got going on. But in the moment, I didn't really think about that, so chose a stove top HUD and size it down. Again, love that you can do that. Love to see more modern additions to the catalogue. But I think for now, it kind of worked with the vibe that I was going for. I think, keeping it to a very minimal palette always helps as well. Now, I don't know if the appliances are actually usable or not, so I just placed it in there regardless of the fact. But I like that they have all modern gadgets, so colour matched the dishwasher to the kitchen. Also added a coffee maker. I think we maybe even add a corner microwave. Yeah, there's quite a few appliances actually, which is nice to see. Just, everything you need for a modern kitchen. Then I was like, oh, can't forget a bin. So that perfect little snug corner worked out in the end. And found the kitchen clutter category. So didn't go to town as much as I usually would, but just added the right amount of detailing. Like those little containers. I love the fact that we even have like mixing bowls and spoons and a lot of realistic detail and clutter. I did a mortar and pestle. I think even maybe add some utensils as well. But I really should play a test this to make sure the kitchen is actually usable, because hopefully the Paras can cook on any surface. And then, yeah, I was kind of tying with the idea of bringing up the width of the height of the cabinets all the way to the ceiling, but it looked a little bit odd, so just adjusted it a little bit to the top so it kind of filled in that gap. Probably really haven't placed the cabinets down properly, since I can kind of see that corner moment looks a little bit weird, but all in good time. colour matching things here and there. Quite like that bronzy swatch that we go for in the end. Although, I don't know, do I keep the cooker in that? No, I don't. So maybe it looks a little bit weird having a stove in a bronze colour. Now to the dining room area. Again, love the fact, probably keep saying this a million times, that we can just customize the size of things. And in turn, when you customize the widths and height of items, the actual chairs that are in the slots also are customized with it. So I like how intuitive everything is. It's a bit of a snug space, I guess, for having a dining table. But I did think it was the perfect place to have it right next to the kitchen, in view of the that amazing window at the back of the house. Decided just to dress the table up with some dining sets. So these plates and wine glasses. I don't think we add cutlery, even if there is cutlery in the catalogue. I did a nice bunch of flowers, so ended up going for this bouquet, placing it in the centre. Nice, nice bit of detailing. And then this wall was screaming out for a bit of artwork, so opted for another abstract number. I don't think I go for this one. Yeah, now continuing on my quest for abstract art, found this one, which kind of worked perfectly with the tones of the rooms actually. But I do wish now, in hindsight, that I'd chosen the artwork with the frame, so it didn't kind of just look like a tagged poster on the wall. Here's what I was talking about with that blue guide. It's so useful when you're placing a light over a dining table to know where the central part is. Extending the window a touch more, since, you know, there's quite a lot of wall space here. And, oh gosh, this I remember now. It's all coming back to me. I was trying to fit this plant in the corner, but obviously proving to be too big, and I did not want it to glitch into the wall. So I probably spent quite a good chunk of time just maneuvering the dining table around to accommodate this big old plant. And then I think in the end, I just swap it out for a much smaller one. Because then obviously looking here now, everything's very cramped and too close to the counters. And I didn't want to sacrifice space for the sake of a plant, really. But zoned in the dining area with a rug, just to make it feel less open space, even though obviously the space itself is designed to be open plan living. Here I am realizing and giving up that on that huge plant and opting for something a bit smaller, and then nestling everything in a bit more comfortably, so looks a bit more balanced. And just adjusting the swatch in this rug for a little bit more of a neutral number. Not been that daring with the colour palettes so far, but I kind of work in neutrals really successfully. And also, if you're not familiar with a game yet, I think I always try my best to do something a little bit safe, and then, you know, can bring the experimentation down the line. Here was a perfect little nook to add a office space. So chose this really cool looking desk actually. There's 2 slots for chairs, but I ended up going for one. And doing a nice like kind of curved, organic looking desk chair. Added a PC and a little desk lamp. Opted for this kind of more modern number. At least I think I do. Knowing me, I've probably changed it. And, oh yeah, we had some hobby categories, and I was thinking, you know, what could go here? And that's when they had the idea to put some vinyls on the wall. Thinking maybe the powers that live in this house are into music, because you'll see a little bit later on that I had a keyboard upstairs. Probably could have fit it down here really, but there was a nice little nook where the staircase rested upstairs that served for the perfect space for a keyboard. Just adding some desk clutter here with some boxes and books. I do like that you can just freely place things anywhere. I think that's gives so much freedom for when you're building, not having to worry about lifting things up with the 9 key or adding cheats or anything. Added some lovely tulips in this neutral swatch. For some reason, when you go into the statues, there's statue of a cow. I don't know. Is that a thing that the Paras have related to? I think it's like spilt milk and a cow, which it looks really just strange, but did ignore that for this build. I need to go a bit more classy, you know. Added a clock and a vinyl on the wall, as I mentioned. And a big old plant. I finally got my dream of the big plant. Placed it against this wall, which I'm very happy about. Love that plant, actually. And what do we do next? Add a circular rug to zone this area in. Create a bit of a downstairs office nook. Well, mid-level office nook. And then I added a bench across this window. So it'd just be a nice spot to, you know, have a seating moment. Since there's no seating on this floor. I'm not sure like Paras would really use it, but you know, it's quite a nice viewing spot. I actually don't know what's behind it. I don't know whether it's a church or something. But in any case, it would be pretty private. So I didn't actually add any blinds to this window. I just wanted to keep it as seamless as possible. I did a very design-led lamp here. Just looking around the area, I'm like, do I need to add any more detail? And I was like, no, Chris. Just keep it simple. Though for some reason, I'm gravitating back to the kitchen, so clearly I thought I needed to add another thing, a bottle of olive oil. And up to the final floor we go. So as you can tell, it's actually a very small, snug space, but I think sometimes that's quite nice for a living space, for a TV room. So we've got 2 adjacent sliding doors, so I had to be really careful with the placement of the sofas. So instead, I ended up going for these really cushy looking armchairs, these very design-led looking armchairs. I actually really like these. I think obviously, I guess it's intended to be a modular sofa, so they're supposed to snap together. But I figured since this townhouse only accommodates 2 Paras at most, probably only need 2 chairs really. So situated them against the back wall, against a TV unit with a flat screen, and at the little buffet in the corner. Sized it down though. Kind of wish sometimes that you could size not just width-wise, but also height, but maybe it's because that's a usable object, so technically the Paras would not be able to sit on it if it was too small in height. Opted for a lovely circular rug. Wasn't best pleased with that darker sage swatch, so it's very much in the tones of the bedroom. And also my love for big plants continues upstairs. Also, it's just a great space filler really, isn't it? When you've run out of ideas for decorative details. What else do we do? I think we had a coffee table, if it allows. Yeah, and we just size it down a touch. Spatial awareness, you know. Add a little plant here. Has a little ivy moment. Maybe we had some bucks. Not really sure. Oh, of course, my trusty mushroom lamp, which apparently the couple that owns this townhouse loves so much that it's pretty much on every floor. Added a pile of bucks, make it feel a little bit more lived in. And this is kind of dead space, so I thought it'd be quite nice to have a hallway table here, just to allow for a bit more decoration. Do I opt for a cabinet? No, I don't. I think I go for a, technically what is a dining table, and just make it a little bit skinnier. So it kind of acts as a hallway table, and it kind of worked out quite nicely in the end. I think the organic shape of the wood was quite nice against the very clean linear lines of the windows and the flooring. Added another lamp. It's all about different moments of light, and a lovely vase of flowers. A few more trinkets here and there. Should have, now looking at it, coloured the roof. I forgot that's an option. I did struggle actually initially. I think when you place a roof on the top floor, you can't actually colour the ceiling of it. Because I found I could colour the ceilings of every other floor. So maybe that's a glitch. Maybe you just never intended to be able to do that. Oh, here I am adding more money to my Paras account. And this is the keyboard that I was mentioning. Just served its purpose really in that corner. Nice way to add a bit of detail in a very awkward looking space. So yeah, I pictured maybe a para that loves music living here, or one of them at least. Gave them a guitar as well, added another little plant. I think it kind of turned out quite nicely actually. And into the lighting, like for this lampshade moment, and a cool modern exterior light. Well, I guess, works for an interior as well. You can see my camera there dropping down multiple times. I definitely hope they implement in a better camera in the future. Kind of difficult to build in. But lovely stuff. I think it kind of turned out quite nice. It's very sparse and minimal, very much my style, but I'm happy with it. Into the one and only true livable balcony. Thought it'd be quite a nice space to have an outdoor dining area. So we created a barbecue moment, and I was playing around with the different styles of furniture that would kind of suit an exterior space. I think initially I was going to go for this table because I really like those chairs, and I definitely thought they looked like garden chairs. But yeah, I was playing around with a couple of aesthetics I didn't really like, but more modern ones. So switched out for this wooden circular table and added a table of 4 seats. Be quite snug. I'm intrigued to see what the mapping is like for the paras when they're going around the different objects, but I'm hoping that they can maneuver themselves because I do add some plants a little bit later, so maybe it will clip in and, not allow them to get around. Oh, I did notice, thank God. It's like there is a unpainted half wall there. Please paint it, Chris. And I did, thank goodness. So yeah, just adding some exterior plantage. Found these nice tall boys here, so that looked quite appropriate. And the colour swatch matched perfectly really with the tones that I was going for. I kind of wish I did a pendant now over that table. I know for sure I don't do that because there is a ceiling above this, so maybe I'll add one before the final screenshots turn around. But I did add these little down lights for mood lighting. And this balcony really isn't a usable balcony. It's just, I was kind of toying with the idea of putting a chair there, but as you can see, a little bit too snug. So I ended up just adding some plants in there. But yeah, friends, I hope you enjoyed this speed build. It's actually really tricky to get to grips to talking for so long, but I am proud with how the build came out. If you do like this video, please give it a like and leave me a lovely comment down below. And you can also search my name, Curiopher, on YouTube for other cozy building games. We'll be back with even more Paralives builds in the next coming weeks, so stay tuned. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.